Thank you. Okay. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of College of the Redwoods for April 6th, 2021, and ask you to join me in a flag salute in honor of those serving our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We begin the agenda with item 1.1, the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered today is unceded territory of the Wiyot people who continue to live and thrive on this land today. It is surrounded by the traditional, ancestral, and present homeland of several indigenous nations, including the Hupa, Karuk, Matol, Talawa, Wailaki, and Yurok that make up Humboldt and Del Norte counties. Item 1.2 on our agenda is general public comments. Do we have any public comments, Cynthia?
None received, Vice President.
Okay. Seeing or hearing of none, we will move to 1.3, member comments. Are there trustees who have comments about their college activities?
President Matthews?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I wanted to share with my fellow trustees the confirmation of the conference, the annual conference, May 5th, 6th, and 7th. And I hope everyone who's interested in attending will attend. There are a number of special caucus meetings that will follow the main scheduled classes.
You know,
I think somebody needs to turn
back
their
in the days when it,
Yes, could I have your attention? There is
when
somebody,
still had good hips, but I was
somebody
running,
needs
I
to
didn't
mute.
want
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Biggin.
Anyway, what I wanted to say is since our last board meeting, I've attended Zoom meetings for the Student-Centered Funding Formula Task Force meeting, for the ACES group, which is the advisory committee for, conferences and all. I've tried to attend most of the Chancellor's Office webinars. And then most recently, last Thursday, the League had their first town hall, and the focus was on developing DEI mission statements and resolutions, which I think we're way ahead of the ball game on. Anyway, they're all very informative, and it's always good to hear what other districts are doing throughout the state.
Mhm.
So, and I also attended a couple of meetings for the Women's Caucus that is newly formed. I mentioned it last month. And we're up to about 350 members now throughout the state, both administrators and trustees. And so it's very rewarding to see the interest that's been shown in that new caucus. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any other trustees with comments? Please speak up because I can't see everybody on the screen. No one else? Okay, then we will move to 1.4, board committee reports. I know there are a couple. We can start with Trustee Mullery.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Matthews. I'll report on two committees. One is the President Evaluation Committee. Serving on that committee along with me are trustees Copini, Robertson, and student trustee Peters. Per our policy, the president evaluation survey went out to the trustees and some selected stakeholders on April 1st. We ask that you return those surveys within 2 weeks. Specifically, we're asking that you return them by April 16th. Per our policy, and I have the policy in front of us, what will happen at that point is our executive assistant, who recently won the Exceptional Service in Public Governance Award.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Cynthia. I figured I could sneak that into a report. Cynthia will be tabulating those responses, and the trustees will be receiving them in May. In May, I guess it's me, the chair of the ad hoc committee, we will be presenting the responses to the board in a closed session at the May board meeting. And at that point, the board can ask for some clarifications. And then just so you know what will happen after that, in June, President Flamer will submit to the board a written self-evaluation. And then in closed session in June, we will be discussing with President Flamer the results of the President Evaluation Survey Instrument. And more happens, but that gives you an idea of what's up and coming with the President's evaluation. So it would really be great if you could get those back to us by April 16th. The other committee that I'll report on is the Student Success Committee. And I serve on that with President Danny Kelly, and Trustee Rebecca Robertson. Our committee, as you know, because we've reported on this, met several times. You know, one of the issues we were grappling with was to make sure we stayed in our lane, that we weren't overstepping. There is a Student Success Committee on campus. We are not part of that group. What we're trying to do is help the board fulfill one of its primary roles, which is to create policy that will enhance student success. To that end, one of the actions that we've taken is we've asked that certain reports be placed directly on the Board of Trustees webpage that we can refer to as a group when we're discussing any issue or any policy that would relate to student success. And these reports will provide us some data and evidence that will hopefully inform our conversation. All of these reports, as most of you know, are readily available on our institutional report webpage. But that is such a rich, robust webpage. We were concerned that trustees might kind of get lost in it. Not that you're perfectly capable of getting onto that webpage, but we thought it might be helpful if we could just pull out what we think were very relevant reports and post them directly on the Board of Trustees homepage. And then we may change those reports depending upon where our conversations or discussions may go in the future. The 4 reports that are up there now are demographics. It won't surprise you that demographics include the ethnicity, gender, age, disability, number of Pell Grants of our students, and you can drill that down to location, campus location. A second report is the Institutional Effectiveness Scorecard. Again, this is a very rich report. It provides data over 6 years on retention, course success, degree accomplishment, certificate completion, transfers, employment. Tied to that, but we link it separately, is the report that specifies our vision for success goals, which of course is tied to the chancellor's goals, which of course is tied to the resolution that we will be discussing at 1.7. You may recall that the vision for success goals are actually specified in that resolution. So there would be a reason why you might want to click on that, and it will be readily available to you on the Board of Trustees webpage. So the vision for success goals, as you all know, specify our goals for completion of certificates, completion of degrees, and also information on disproportionate impact, specifically the term that's used rather than Latinx is Hispanic, and that's because that's the term that's on the Chancellor's webpage, Hispanic, LGBT, first generation, and disabled students. So that's all incorporated on the, or in, I should say, the Vision for Success report. And finally, the last report that we linked is our success and retention rates. And this also is a really valuable, I think, report for all of us to look at from time to time. And it gives us trends in terms of how successful our students have been in completing degrees, completing certificates, transferring. It actually even drills down to the course level, which, you know, I don't recommend that we get down to that level, but it is a very, I think, important document for us to consider as we engage in our conversations regarding student success. So that's
Great.
what the Student Success Committee came up with in terms of our charge. And if there's anything you think we should add to make it easier for you to collect the evidence that might assist us as we move forward with our discussions, please let us know, and we'll make the necessary adjustments. This is our first stab at this. Thank you. That's all.
Great. Thank you. That will be helpful. Get to look at it soon. Is there any other committee report? I will report that the audit committee did not meet this month as originally scheduled, but will meet on May 4th prior to the board meeting. I will report that the ad hoc committee for board evaluation is finalizing that survey. It will go out to the trustees April 19th. We're trying not to overlap two surveys at the same time, and would be due April 30th. And that gets reviewed with the committee and then comes to the board in June discussion. I also want to report that President Kelly appointed Trustee Mullery and myself to serve on an ad hoc committee on some trustee conduct issues, and we have been working on that, and we'll be making a committee report at a later meeting. Okay, so now we will move on to 1.5, review the mission statement. The mission statement is in front of you on the screen. This is our calendared annual review of the mission statement. Are there any trustee comments, suggestions, questions regarding the mission statement as it currently reads? I had one thought, which is also included in our resolution that we will be discussing shortly. But it occurred to me as part of our mission that we could specifically state in the mission that the college embraces the community college, the California Community College Chancellor's Office vision for success. Now, it is in our resolution, so that might be redundant, but that was the one thought I had about the mission statement. Any comments?
President Matthews?
Sorry,
Go
President,
ahead,
Trustee Dorn.
Oh, I don't know why, it just seems like it may be a little dated already. I mean, I think it's been a while since we really went through it, and I didn't know if anybody else felt the same way. I thought it might need a little bit more than just a cursory look at. And especially with Trustee Bingham commenting on some of this earlier in her report.
Well, this is our time to look at that. Did you have suggestions about what you would add or rephrase or?
Well, you know, I did not. I just, it just, I don't know, and maybe it doesn't seem dated. It just seemed dated to me. And, you know, I mean, it was really great at the time. I mean, I don't know that we deal with inclusion and a lot of the other issues that are currently before us.
President Matthews,
Yes, trustee Biggin.
I appreciate trustee Dorn's comments, and we may need to review this in the future. But based on my experience, I have been serving on a state task force specifically about mission statements. And when we were reviewing them, ours was really more on the cutting edge than most that we were looking at, because we did start to, address diversity. The other part, though, that is the equity issue and inclusion issue, may need to be reconsidered. But I want to say that it's still under discussion through the Chancellor's office, and there's some upcoming webinars on mission statements. And I think at this point, with the pending resolution that we hopefully will support later on in this agenda, I think your comments about the vision statement will be addressed there. But it may be something we do need. This current mission statement that we have may need to be reconsidered in less than a year, based on some of the developments through the Chancellor's office and the recommendations coming through the league.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Trustee Matthews?
yes,
If I may, yes. I just want to review the protocol for the revision of the mission statement. If we
good,
decide
thank
to
you.
Do that, because I think it goes beyond the level of the Board of Trustees.
Yes, it does.
It would be an effort by the entire district, not just the board, if I recall the way we've done it in the past, or the way it should be done.
Right.
That's all.
Go ahead.
And President Matthews,
Yes,
I wanted to say, I understand that the Academic Senate and the Classified Senate and the Student Senate, at the state level, have all been discussing mission statements, and they have done some really good work in that area. And I look forward to taking it through the whole consultation process, because there's some great guidance coming out of some of these other groups at the state level. And I'm sure at our local level that's been discussed too. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to take it through that process down the road.
okay. So President Flamer, does revision of the mission statement start with the board and go through the consultation, or does it start with another body?
It starts at the board level,
Okay,
and then it goes through college council for the district community to have input.
okay. So without objection, in spite of this is calendared for review this month, which we are doing, I would like to suggest that we wait 2 to 3 months here while all of these discussions that Trustee Big and others have referenced are going on, and then pull some of those ideas together and propose some revision and update ourselves. Is that
Sounds good to me.
any
Sounds
objection to
good to
that?
me. Sounds
Okay.
great.
All right, so let's keep an eye on how these conversations and discussions and ideas from them come forth. It's April, May, maybe in a couple of months, look at what's happened this spring as the academic year closes, and put this back on an agenda for us to really propose some changes and updates. Okay. Item, excuse me, 1.6 on our agenda is approve return to in-person board meetings on May 4th.
I move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I
Thank you.
second it.
Okay, so this opens our discussion of this item, and please call my attention to the fact that you have something you'd like to say. So anyone have a comment? Well, I will comment. I will comment that that I am comfortable and positive about doing this. I know that I believe President Kelly, who can't be here, feels the same way. I don't know if anyone has any concerns. The guidance and kind of guidelines are here in the notes for the board. My real concern is the road, which currently is like an 8-hour travel time to get down there and back, but which may be vastly improved by May.
President Matthews?
Yes,
On the road, by the way, if you get there, because I've made that route a couple of times, if you get there before the 9 o'clock,
right.
then you get through quickly. And
Right,
I came through
right.
at lunchtime once, just a side note.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention that, these guidelines coming out from CDC are changing daily.
Yes,
I mean, I've been following them quite regularly, actually every day, because of international travel, and they are constantly changing with vaccination.
yes,
We are.
yes. So we will keep up with those, I'm sure, for the May meeting. Are there other trustee comments regarding meeting in person in May?
President Matthews, I want to
Yes.
concur. I agree about coming back in May. And I'm looking forward to in-person meetings for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
But the only question I would have is, do we need to renew our parking permits before that time?
Oh,
Or is that going to be an issue?
President Flamer?
It will not be an issue till fall semester.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
If not, mhm,
I have a comment about the
Yes.
parking permit. I think myself and trustee Robertson will need a parking permit.
right. So President Flamer, are they being used at all right now? Because all of us have one that was a 1920 permit.
No, we did suspend parking this year.
Okay. All right. So we'll be good until fall. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And President Matthews, will
Yes.
the audit committee will meet then in person before?
Yes, the audit committee would
Okay,
then meet in person before, and we will set the time, whether it's noon or a little before that, depending on the agenda. Okay. All right.
So excuse me, I just have a comment. So are we gonna keep the Zoom as a backup, let's say for committee meetings that we can't have before a regular meeting or anything like that? Is that still viable in the future? So for instance,
Right.
if there's a ad hoc committee, so they could just meet on Zoom, it would save, the environment and fuel and time and et cetera.
President Flamer, that's available to us
Yes,
ongoing?
it most certainly is.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm sorry, I have another question after trustee Capini's. So will this meeting be Zoomed even though we're in person?
I'm still working with Cynthia on the logistics of that.
Because I'm just, as you know, worried about public participation and how would them from their offices, if they choose not to come to the boardroom, how would they participate?
Yeah, so I'm working with Cynthia on that piece.
Okay. With no further comment, Cynthia, could you call the vote, please?
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. So agenda item 1.7 is our resolution 779, affirming commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So could I ask for a motion on
So
the
moved.
resolution? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So Cynthia, could you open that resolution in front of us? Thank you. So for the board, but for everyone else, this resolution is long, and I'm not going to read, I hope you're thankful, the entire resolution in the meeting. It is posted here. It's posted, with all of the agenda items for the public. There are a series of 9 whereas statements. And then there is a whereas with a list of 9 actions that College of the Redwoods has already taken to support diversity, equity, and inclusion at our college. And then it is resolved that we, the Redwoods Community College District Board of Trustees, hereby reaffirm strongly our support for diversity in faculty and staff hiring, diversity among faculty, students, staff, and programs, and expect everyone in the College of the Redwoods community through their roles and responsibilities to implement the district's diversity initiatives and maintain a climate of respect, civility, anti-racism, and inclusion as part of the institution's commitment to educational excellence. And be it further resolved that Redwoods Community College District Board of Trustees will support and implement the recommendations from the California Community College Chancellor's Office Vision for Success, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force report dated April 24th, 2020, and biannually participate in implicit bias and cultural competency training. And be it further resolved, the Redwoods Community College District Board of Trustees shall publicly review on an annual basis the district's compliance with the California Education Code Equal Employment Opportunity Standards and the Chancellor's Office certification form that incorporates multiple methods to address diversity, including but not limited to board policies and adopted resolutions, incentives for hard to hire areas disciplines, focused outreach and publications, procedures for addressing diversity through hiring steps and levels, consistent and ongoing training for hiring committees, professional development focused on diversity, diversity incorporated into criteria for employee evaluation and tenure review, grow your own programs, an analysis of why staff leave the district, and the makeup of hiring committees. It's a wonderful, a very strong statement. Are there trustees who have comments, questions? Please speak up if you do.
President Matthews,
Yes, Trustee Biggin.
I was really impressed to see the summary of all the actions that our district has already taken to support diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's, it happens one step at a time, but when you summarize it like this, it's very impressive. And I'm very proud of our district and staff and faculty and students and all that support these efforts.
Thank you. Agreed. Are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Cynthia, would you call the vote, please, for approval of this resolution?
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We move on to agenda items under 2, consent calendar agenda items. Are there any trustees who wish to pull an item from the consent agenda?
I do.
Okay, and that would be,
2.2.
okay, we will pull 2.2, excuse me. So do I hear a motion to approve 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7?
I so move.
I move to approve, or I second.
Okay. Cynthia, could you call the
Richard
poll?
Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Okay, item 2.2, personnel actions. Trustee Dorn.
So my question was on number 18, the Vice President of Instruction. And is that a new position or a redo of an old position? Or what's the story with that?
President Flamer?
Certainly, as if you remember, I used to have the VPI and the student services vice president role when they were merged. And then when when I got this job, Angelina Hill stepped into that dual role as well. And with Dr. Hill's move over to HR, I decided to split that dual role into two vice presidents, one of instruction, the other one of student services. And so Carrie is serving as the VPI, Vice President for Instruction, only with those roles and responsibilities. That is traditionally under the instructional area.
And it says interim, so will you advertise for that position?
Yes, we entered into a 2-year contract with Carrie Mayer to serve as the VPI, and we will start the search for the permanent in about 6 to 8 months or maybe a year. I wanted to give the district plenty of time to find the right person to serve in that role.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything additional? Can we have a motion to approve 2.2?
I move to approve.
I
Second.
second it.
Okay. Cynthia, could you call the vote, please?
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Thank you. And I would just like to take the opportunity on behalf of the board to thank all of those who are taking on new responsibilities. Some of them interim, leaving what they're doing to take on new tasks. It's important for the district, and we really appreciate, the willingness to do that. Then we move on to 3 action discussion items. Item 3.1, approve the monthly financial status report. Could I have a motion, please?
So
So
moved.
move.
And one of those is a second. Okay, you have to. Okay, President Flamer, do you have any additional comments?
I don't, but I'd like to call on Vice President Morrison to walk the board through and answer the board's questions if
Okay.
trustees have it.
All right, Vice President Morrison.
Certainly. Cynthia, can you open the first attachment, please? Thank you. So this is our statement of changes in fund balances, our monthly financial status report through the end of February 2021, showing our final budget amounts, any year-to-date adjustments, and then the current budget and year-to-date actuals. There have been no additional adjustments since this report came to the board at the last board meeting. And if you look at revenues coming in, they are starting to slow down a little bit, and mostly it's the apportionment piece. We're now going to start seeing those months where we're not getting that apportionment because of the deferrals. And then if you can scroll down a little bit, please, Cynthia. Thank you. So for our total sources or total revenue, so far we're at just over 19 million. And then as far as expenditures go, we are at a little over 17 million. So we're still on track for the 10.5% estimated ending fund balance. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about this report.
Are there trustees who have any questions? I had a question. The transfers in the initial notes, the transfers out, we see all the time, but I'm not sure that we've always seen revenue contingent transfers out. And could you explain to me what that means?
Certainly. So at the Budget Advisory Committee, at the end of the last fiscal year, our cycle, we were called upon to put forth some revenue contingent spending priorities. And that is, if in the event that we receive more revenue than we expected, what do we do with that money? So this is kind of earmarking what we would do with extra dollars if they were to actualize. So what you're seeing here for revenue contingent transfers out is if there are the funds available, we'll put forth an additional 1.5 million towards OPEB and then 500,000 towards the pension contribution fund.
Okay.
If I can add something to that, President Matthews?
Yes.
As the trustees know, Julia, Vice President Morrison and I entered this budget process very, very conservative.
Yes.
And because we, of course, did not want to overspend on money that we would never receive.
Right.
So if the state does get flush again and reallocate their, increase our apportionment, then we want to have a plan in place to how to use those funds, those extra funds.
Right. Good. Good. Well, I'm glad to see that in the notes for this. Are there any other comments, questions from trustees? If not, could we take the vote, Cynthia, please?
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini, Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vice President Morrison. Number 3.2, Construction Management Services for Creative Arts Request for Proposal Recommendation. Could I have a motion, please?
So move.
I second it.
Okay, thank you. President Flamer?
If the board has any questions, I call on Vice President Morrison to answer whatever trustees' questions that may arise, but this is a pretty self-explanatory. We entered into this process about a year, about maybe 8 to 12 months ago. And Vice President Morrison and her committee went through several applications or proposals and did identify CSI as the potential awardee pending board approval today.
President Matthews?
Yes.
Yeah, their website is really impressive, and so are their projects. But the one thing I didn't get from their website is how diversified are they? And would the committee consider companies that are more diversified, or is that not in our purview?
Are we talking about being diverse in terms of personnel? That was not part of the RFP process.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or questions from trustees? Okay, and Cynthia, could you take the vote, please?
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Thank you. That moves us to 3.3, authorize the sale of construction technology tiny house number 01 with $89,000 listing price and authorize the president superintendent to accept a reasonable offer and to execute the required documents. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. President Flamer?
I believe that the background is pretty self-explanatory,
Mhm.
unless the trustees have a question.
I just had kind of a question. So it's a tiny house that you
Yes.
move and
Oh,
whoever
yes,
buys it.
I- sorry, Tracy, I'd forgotten that both you and Dr. Robertson weren't part of on the board when we first discussed this, the tiny house. But the tiny house is a collaboration between construction technology and the art department. And so when our students completed the tiny house, there was some discussion about what to do with it. So we decided to sell that particular tiny house, and the funds go back to the construction tech program.
So how many square feet is it? How approximately?
I do not have that answer for you, but I can most certainly get that to you.
Some of us last year got to tour the project when it was just beginning. And it included at that time the welding students who were constructing the frame that the tiny house would be built on. And I don't know the number of square feet either, but it was a typical tiny house. I would say 200 to 300 square feet or something.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. It'd be something to see, that's for sure. Be interested in it.
Well, where is it located now, President Flamer?
Right, I see Dean Mayer is available. Carrie, can you
Good.
spend a few minutes?
Yes, it is right now behind the lower diesel bay doors. So it's open to the exterior, so you could see it when you drive by. We'll be moving it up out of that kind of lower area soon because we need to finalize our Caltrans and CHP inspections. But I would love to make a tour available for the trustees, perhaps, you know, at your convenience. We would be happy to open the tiny house up, and social distancing is hard in the tiny house because it's tiny, but you can go in, you know, one or two at a time, but it's really, really cool. And our welding department, our construction department, and our art department have done a fantastic job. The faculty have been great, especially during COVID. It's been difficult to kind of get things done, but it's beautiful. We've repurposed some of the old growth redwood paneling from the old library in the tiny home. So it's taking a piece of our history with it, and we're just very pleased with how it came out. So
I'd be very interested.
Yeah, if we still have it, maybe the board could tour it at the conclusion of the May board meeting.
That would be fantastic. We can make that happen.
All right, that would be fun.
Matthews, I was just gonna make another possible suggestion. This is Colleen. And I don't know how feasible this is, but I'm wondering if we could even see some footage, some video footage of it, you know, because the social distancing is going to be a bit of an issue in the tiny house. And you know, if you have an iPhone, maybe we can get some good shots of it.
For sure, we can make that happen for you. We'll put we'll make a little tiny film to go with the tiny house, and we can send it out to President Flamer, and he can distribute it to y'all.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't believe we voted on that yet.
You did not.
Okay, could you call the vote, please, Cynthia?
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Carol Matthews.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So that brings us to 4 on the agenda, informational reports. Our first one is 4.1 student success data enrollment by gender and ethnicity. Reports in the screen and in the documents. President Flamer, do you have any comments?
I don't. I just wanted to bring this to the board's attention as the board ad hoc committee on student success begins to ramp up their conversations. So I think that this would be a good foundation.
Thank you. So in looking at this, I noticed a couple of things. One, for almost all of the items, this is very consistent over a 5-year time period.
Yes.
The second thing I noticed is that the one percentage change that was notable is the increase in the percentage of students who are female compared to male, which is, you know, a number of points higher than it had been. And the other thing, of course, on the very bottom, which we all know we're dealing with, is the big drop in our unduplicated headcount.
Yes.
So we will look forward to seeing this with another year on it and see how we go. Are there any comments or questions from trustees? Oh, okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to 4.2, update on Eureka Campus capital projects. President Flamer.
Certainly, I will go ahead and get started. I think Director McKenzie, if you could join me in this conversation. I see that you're on. Again, this is just an update on the 3 capital projects on this campus. Everything is moving along very well. So we're just we're just about done with the UIR project. One of the key pieces, and I know it's important to the board, is the demolition of the old LS life science and physical science buildings. So I'm just as excited to get those buildings raised as the board is, but we are dependent on how quickly PG&E comes and approves both the plan and does the inspection and does their work so we can actually demolish the LS and PS buildings. Our creative arts project is moving very quickly through the state and will hopefully go out for bid early this coming summer. And physical education, again, that's still moving forward as well. We still have some questions on budget on both of these major building projects, but we don't foresee any problems moving forward.
Okay. Any questions or comments from trustees? No, I'm excited to see all of this happening. I know we all are, particularly the creative arts replacement project. I think that is going to be such an exciting facility to have on campus, and I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, then we will move on to 4.3, the ACCJC annual 2019-2020 reports. There's 2 on programming campus statistics, and then the fiscal one. President Flamer, do you have any comments to start?
Just to start it, that the commission requires all colleges to submit both of these reports on an annual basis, as you know. So Dr. Hill was responsible for the annual report, and she's done this, I believe, almost 8 or 9 years at this point. And Julia, Vice President Morrison, did our fiscal report. And what the commission does is look at both of these reports for early indication of a college's potential problem with accreditation, either fiscally or with other things, other part of the standards, especially standard 2. And I think that so far we're doing very, very well with both reports. So these reports do not highlight potential problems with the district.
Okay, great. Are there any questions or comments from trustees on either of these reports? I would just like to comment, I wrote down, wow, when I was preparing the agenda, because there is so much information in these reports. And they're a great resource for us as well, you know, to summarize what we talk about and work through the year on. I thought that was true of both of them, and particularly the fiscal one. I just thought it was a great summary of all of the things that we've been dealing with. So they're a real resource to us as well.
Trustee Matthews, if I may.
Yes, yes.
And I agree. As you will recall, when I was reviewing what the Student Success Committee had done in terms of posting, if my trustee colleagues think it would be useful, we could post these two documents on our webpage too, so that they would be readily available. I don't want to clutter the webpage, but on the other hand, I don't want to lose this kind of information or forget about it.
I think that would be excellent, because these are so comprehensive and in really such a manageable thing for just at your fingertips data. And I think that would be an excellent idea myself.
Yeah, if I may ask my colleague, Trustee Robertson, what do you think about that, Trustee Robertson?
I agree. I think that would be a great idea. I think as Trustee Matthews or President Matthews pointed out, that there's so much information that's available on these reports in a very digestible way. So I think having them on hand, easily accessible, would be fantastic.
Great. Yeah, I just want to reflect on what our ad hoc committee discussed, and that is we didn't want to create another web page or a space that was so busy that we might, not find it useful. But I think if we're in agreement, we could add these two and then, make adjustments as we move forward. Are you okay with that, President Flamer?
Yes, I am, Dr. Mallory.
Great. Good. All right, without further comment, we'll move on to organizational reports. 5.1 Academic Senate and President Gary Sokolow.
I have nothing to report at this time, Madam President.
Okay, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.2 CRFO, President Michelle Haggerty.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you.
Hi.
I guess I'll just report on some of the stuff that CRFO has been involved in the last month. We're continuing to work with the district on plans for the fall. We have faculty that are in different places in regards to their comfort of coming back to campus. And so we're working with the district to continue to have these conversations. We had a joint CRFO faculty meeting a couple of weeks ago. And President Flamer was able to come and kind of talk about some of the plans for fall. And we had 55 faculty at that meeting. So we're really finding that Zoom is helping us significantly with getting more people there. CRFO has been very supportive of the SERP. I don't know what the outcome is, but we've been working with several faculty as they're making that decision and kind of connecting them with resources that they would need. Eric Kramer and I attended the FACT Advocacy and Policy Conference, which is an annual conference that FACT puts on. The focus of the conference was on equity and institutional racism. So we had lots of sessions that were helpful in that area. Something that I found important, because I've known this but didn't have the exact numbers, it was brought up the equity issues in education between K-12 community colleges, CSUs, and UCs, with UCs receiving $32,000 in funding per student, community colleges getting about $8,700, and then there's some numbers there that what goes to general fund and all of that. So that really seems to be an important equity issue also. We did have a presentation on SCIF, and I guess the more I hear, the better I understand it. It is so complicated. I know there's people here today that understand it significantly more. But it's good to get more and more on the problems with instituting this. And I think looking at it through an equity lens again is important. As part of that conference, we always visit the legislators. Last year was on a Monday when the world was shutting down. Eric and I were in the Capitol that day. And so we're scheduling something through Zoom. So we'll meet with McGuire and Wood. We've asked the Senate co-presidents to join us with that and bring some students. Professor Sokolow is talking to ASCR about bringing some of those students, and Professor Kramer has some students too. It's a good opportunity, I think, with doing these things on Zoom. In the visit, we're going to highlight protecting the funding for community colleges. Some colleges had to turn away students during the last economic crisis, and so we want to make sure that we just emphasize that community colleges are where retraining takes place, and that we need to have a lot of support during an economic crisis to make sure that we're protecting our programs and providing what our communities need to. We've been working on the Credit for Prior Learning Task Force, and which is a new initiative coming forward, and some recommendations are going forward out of that. And I think that's all I have for you today. Any questions?
Any trustee questions or comments? Thank you, President Haggerty. Glad to have you here.
Yes.
Our next report, 5.3 classified, President Tammy Engman.
Good afternoon. I just had one thing I wanted to report on, and that was the return to in-person operations task force that President Flamer had worked on establishing with the classified staff. There are 5 members on there that were able to serve. We were reviewing departments' plans, and we were very grateful to be involved in that process. We've had some very hard and open and honest conversations about all of our concerns, and we're hoping that moving forward that those continue to be addressed. I think that was a good group of people that were in there. Kevin Crotty, Tanya Anderson up in Del Norte, Esmeralda Ramirez, Mark Bernards, and myself. We tried to pick a group from different areas and different perspectives, and they all came with a very good concern. So that was all I wanted to report on. Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, President Engman. Management Council 5.4, President Jordan Hamill. Is President Hamill with us?
I don't think so, Vice President.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move to 5.5, Student Trustee Miss Christine Peters.
She also regrets that she was unable to make the meeting today.
Okay, all right. So thank you, all of you. We'll move to 6, administrative reports. 6.1, President Superintendent, Dr. Flamer.
Thank you. What I first want to say is I really want to thank our custodial staff for the work that they have been doing to replace our HVAC filters. Our goal is to go to the highest quality of MERV 13, and most of the MERV 13s are in back order, but the staff have been able to replace the MERV 8s with MERV 11 so far. So we are really close to hitting what our goal is of MERV 13. And as those come in, then our custodial staff is working very hard and very quickly to replace as many of the filters on the appropriate buildings as we can to make sure that our faculty and staff and students are safe when we reopen in the fall semester. And the second thing I want to mention is that the governor released, had a press conference this morning where he said that he's going to fully reopen the California economy by June 15th if the vaccine and the hospital numbers remain stable. But the two criteria to fully reopen on June 14th are vaccine supply must be sufficient for all Californians ages 16 and older who wish to be vaccinated, and the hospital rates remain stable or low. And what he also further said is that with fully reopening, everyday activities will be allowed and businesses can reopen with common sense risk reduction measures, including vaccinations and mandatory masking. And the important piece of his release was when the California economy fully reopens, the tiers will also end, but common sense health measures such as masking will remain in place across the state, as well as testing and vaccinations.
Wow.
And with that comment, I really want to thank the CSEA for working with the administration in coming up with a very aggressive but valuable plan to reopen the district on June 1st, and then gradually to fully reopen on August 1st. So I want to thank CSEA for working with me to come up with both the date and the plan. So I appreciate all that work.
Okay. I would like to, in your report, to reiterate our congratulations to Cynthia on her Exceptional Leader in Public Governance Award. We think you're exceptional. We rely on you all the time. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Are there other comments or questions? I have one question, Dr. Flamer, that actually goes back to Dr. Haggerty's report, which I forgot to ask, and that is, could you just remind us of what the SERP deadline is?
April 30th.
April 30th. Okay, thank you.
President Matthews, I just
Yes.
have a comment.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank CSEA and faculty for, trying to work forward. I know it's very unprecedented, and we haven't been here before, and be open about it and the dialogue and work together, and really appreciate that.
Good. Thank you. Anything else? If not, we'll move on to 6.2, Vice President of Human Resources and Instruction, Dr. Angelina Hill.
I just wanted to add a few things. I wanted to also thank the custodian staff, as well as the staff in the Child Development Center, who have spent a lot of time cleaning and doing various things so that the facilities could stay open pretty much this entire time. I did a little bit of research following Professor Haggerty's report. So the California community colleges, our funding, it changed a lot because of the student-centered funding formula, but we do receive quite a bit less than the CSUs and UCs. I mean, it's shifted over time, but it's kind of confusing. I'll just say that. For the ACC-JC annual reports, I wanted to formally thank George Patamianos. He will be coming in as the accreditation liaison officer. He is not officially in that role. However, he did a lot of work helping to prepare the annual, the non-fiscal annual report that you reviewed today. And just so that you're aware, those reports are readily available on the accreditation website of CR for you to link to your board page if you so choose. Finally, getting back this Friday, I will be, Dean Patamianos and I will be visiting the Senate Executive committee to discuss planning for the college's involvement in the California Virtual College, the CVC OEI, moving forward, and the leadership surrounding that necessary, and the staff resources to make that happen. We will also have an invited guest from a National Honor Society who we are looking to partner with. The Senate seems, and at least very interested in a potential partnership with this honor society. And then finally, I'll just say that the demographics we saw today from Mr. Chown about the change in gender, it really, in the, with online and cross demographics, it really hits home, because we always wondered if the high percentage of females in online classes was due to the particular online offerings we had, or if it was due to something else. And so this is telling us it's something else, because now we offered everything online, and the female percentages was still rather, you could see the increase. And then you could also see a little bit of changes in demographics that just this unfortunate experiment that we had to engage in did, from this data angle, help us kind of answer some questions that we've been looking at from data analyst IR perspective for some time. So that was very interesting to see. With that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Are there any trustee comments or questions? No, hearing none. Thank you very much, Dr. Hill. We move to 6.3, Vice President of Administrative Services, Julia Morrison.
I don't have anything to add to the report, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? As I remember, the fiscal year transition is a process that has been in place for quite a while. It might have changed, but it's important for us to realize how early everybody starts in order to close the books and be able to move forward with following year's processes, audits, etc. Any other comments or questions? Oh, then we will move on to 6.4, Interim Vice President of Student Services, Ms. Aaliyah Dunphy.
Thank you. The report is available as stands, but I'm open to any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Are there any board comments or questions? I would just comment another set of examples of the work that's being done between CR and Humboldt State University. And I think to the great benefit of both institutions and students. So. Okay, moving on to 6.5, Executive Director of College Advancement and the Foundation, Mr. Marty Coelho. Is he with us today? No?
I don't see Marty on. He had a conflict on interviews.
Okay, all right. Then we move to item 7, future agenda items, reports, requests. Is there any trustee who has a request to put an item on a future agenda?
President Matthews,
Yes.
I do.
Trustee
Actually, a
Doran?
couple. Yeah, my first one is I'd like to learn or know our succession plan for the president's position as well as the VPs and the deans. I know there is one in place for the VPs and the deans, but I've never heard it I've never heard it. And then I think it's the board's responsibility to develop a succession plan for the president. Hopefully we never need to have it in place, but we have had one in the past.
Okay. Is there any consensus that this would be appropriate with the board? Is there any objection? Any comments? Okay. Did you have a second one?
Yeah, I did. I'm going to push my luck. One is, and I don't know if this is an item, but I just wanted to remind everybody, we had a protocol. It's not in policy, but that when we attend a conference, that we do a written report that's given to the board. So the board learns about the different classes and that we've taken. I mean, just for the, this covers the conferences, the January, May, and November, not all the ones that everybody's doing on a weekly basis.
Right.
So I don't know that, I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know that we need a report or a discussion on that.
Okay, so a reminder as we get to do these things, it's kind of invisible on Zoom, and so we can be reminded that we want to share those experiences and content with our fellow trustees.
And then I did have one that came up with, and I didn't want to ask President Haggerty or President Inman, but I would like to just know briefly, what are the concerns with going back to in-person learning in August? What are some of the top concerns they have, so I understand it better?
President Flamer, is that an appropriate information that you could share with us in May, or?
I can most certainly share it in May.
Okay.
Not every item, just a general overview, the top 5 issues or something like that. I just would like to understand it, and that's what I would like.
Most certainly. I'll provide that in May.
Okay. Anything else from other trustees? I will just say that we pretty much already agreed that that at not May, but at an upcoming board meeting, that we would look at input on the mission statement from other bodies and suggestions, and have a discussion about revision update of the mission statement. So that will be on a future agenda also. Okay, thank you. Now we are going to move to closed session. And is there any public comment about closed session? Cynthia, are you receiving any?
None received.
No. Okay, thank you. So in closed session, we will consider the tenure report and recommendation. And now we will move to closed session. And Cynthia, will you remind me, are we going to get a prompt to move to a?
Yes, you will.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
You know,
Well, you should feel good about them.
Actually, I feel very good about them.
That was one heck of a game on Saturday.
Yes. Okay, the board has reconvened in open session. Cynthia, did I hear this was recording again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So to report out from closed session, the Board of Trustees approved granting tenure for the following faculty: Levi Gill in mathematics, Bert Hafar in construction technology, and Jonathan Pace in mathematics. And we congratulate them and thank them very much. Okay. With nothing further on our agenda, we will adjourn and we'll meet again for our board meeting on May 4th.